see. I want to see. Oftentimes when we read these miracle stories, we can be captured by the miracle, which is of course fantastic and really happened. But we have a limited view of miracles because oftentimes it's simply something that we think happens between Jesus and the person who is healed in the healing miracle. It's much broader than that. Jesus never wastes a miracle. It has huge, far-reaching implications, not just on a national or international level or on a religious level, but it has implications that go back in history, the history of Israel. And Jesus shows how he fulfills all the promises made to Israel. This blind man in many ways represents Israel. Israel has been blind. Jesus is calling Israel to faith. Where are the indications of the blindness of Israel? If we go back into the Old Testament, there are many indications because the imagery that we find is often darkness and light, and the blind are in darkness, and God brings light. From the very beginning, Genesis, God separates the light and the darkness. Jesus was very much a student of the Old Testament, and especially like the prophets. And one prophet that he read over and over again was the prophet Isaiah, because they identified with Isaiah. And in Isaiah 62, Isaiah says, "For the darkness covers the earth, and the thick clouds the people. But the end is great hope. But upon you the light shall shine." Of course, we see this beautifully picked up in John's Gospel, Jesus being the light of the world, giving sight to those who are blind. As I said, this is not just for the individual blind man Bartimaeus, but this is for the whole nation of Israel, and as the scriptures unfold, it is for the whole world. Go out into all the world and tell the good news. Bring the light of Christ to the whole world. We are living in a time when the darkness covers the earth and the thick clouds the people. People are walking in the darkness. We are blind as a society. Men are blind as individuals. We have a world that is walking in the darkness. And that darkness blocks us from the light and truth. It's happening in this country. How do you tell you so many of the things that are happening? Every day I shake my head and I say, this can't be real. Latest one this week. You've heard they have taken down the statue of Thomas Jefferson in New York City Hall. Thomas Jefferson. He gave us the Declaration of Independence. Now, everything that this country stands for is in that Declaration of Independence. Inalienable rights given to us by the Creator. The right of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Where does it come from? Did Jefferson just make it up? It comes right out of the Bible. Jefferson read the Bible. And now his statue is removed Because some say, and rightly so, he did own slaves. But we can't judge people anachronistically. In other words, from our time to their time. And I want to let you know the secret. No human being is perfect. And so did some of the founding fathers make mistakes? Sure they did. But maybe during their time period, it wasn't as bad or evil as we see it to be today. Let's take, for example, Dr. Martin Luther King. Great man. Did great things for civil rights. Was he perfect? No. No. But if we tear down every idol that we have, and I mean idol in the best sense of the term, someone who stands for something that is right and good, we end up with nothing. If we take away Jefferson, we can also take away the Declaration of Independence. And that's where our rights are rooted, in that declaration. Speaking to a man a few days ago who comes from Bolivia, and he said to me he went to Independence Hall in Philadelphia. I hope that you've been there. Every American should go there. And he said he literally cried when he saw the Declaration of Independence. He said, because that doesn't just apply to Americans, he said it applies to everybody. And tears came down my eyes. Darkness covering the earth and the thick clouds, the people. They can't see the truth. You tear down Thomas Jefferson, you begin to tear down where our rights are rooted as Americans in the Declaration of Independence. Shameful, silly, or fraud. Let me give you some examples of what is going on in our country. I'm sure I don't have to tell many of you. Instances where the darkness is covering us. Darkness is also associated with the evil one, Satan, the prince of darkness, the great deceiver, the father of lies. I'm sure you've heard that there is an act called the Women's Protective Health Care Act. You know what it has in that act? It says that doctors and nurses, without regard to their religion or their conscience, are forced to perform abortions. That's not American. That's not the Declaration of Independence. We are guaranteed our freedoms. That act does not recognize our freedoms. You've heard there are mandates now telling everybody that they must vaccinate. What happened to our rights to determine our own health care? What we deem to be good, we deem to be bad for ourselves. That's also reflected in the UN Charter of Human Rights. We accept medical care voluntarily and with full consent. Our rights are being threatened. As I said, Jefferson's being questioned, everything else begins to go by the wayside. And now we have an infrastructure package. It's 2,500 pages. It's about 2 Bibles. I doubt that our representatives have read every word. But it allows for demands that abortion be paid by public funding and does away with the Hyde Amendment. Takes away our freedom, makes us participate in things that we believe to be evil. Take away Jefferson, take away that declaration, and they're going away very rapidly. Every one of us loses our rights and dignity as free human beings. One more thing. $3.5 trillion. Whether you like what's in it or not, the fact of the matter is it puts the nation in great debt. Who is buying the debt? China. China. And China is trying to gain hegemony over the entire planet. China. Who's going to own us economically? Who's going to run the world economically? China. China is already making attempts to take over Taiwan. They've already violated treaties regarding Hong Kong, freedom of religion, freedom of speech. In China itself, religion is persecuted. The Communist Party in China is an atheistic party. And therefore, their goal is to stand out God. Because, as the Declaration notes, inalienable rights given to us by our Creator. Are we a people living in darkness? Are we blind? Is the world blind? Jesus here is talking about human blindness to the reality that we are in danger of losing our very identity. What should our prayer be today? This is not just for Bartimaeus, it's for us. It's for our whole country, it's for the whole world. Lord, that I may see. That's the prayer. Lord, that I may see. And once we beg to have our sight restored, to clear up the darkness, the clouds that are covering our eyes, then we will be the people that God calls us to be. Fully alive and fully free, and able, as the blind man did, to follow him on the way. God love you.